New Jersey. Had a great day yesterday. So we're working with Phoenix today. Phoenix got his first really chart where he could extend and you could start steering and going somewhere, and his first canter under saddle. I noticed just today, him coming out, he's already has his head 1.5 feet, 2 foot lower than yesterday. When he came, he was a lot taller yesterday, just walking in and going around. So we're just gonna try to build on that. So we're gonna start from scratch again. And the way this normally works, you're not skipping steps, you're not leaving any holes in, but what you're looking for is that if the groundwork takes you 20 minutes to get through or 30 minutes to get through on day 1, that takes you 15 or 10 on day 2, 5 on day 3. You're doing it just to go through it on day 4. You know, by the time second week on an unbroke horse, groundwork is foolish because the horse will pass anything that you throw at it. It just says, okay. If you do it in that manner, you know the horse is absorbing everything that you're giving it. When you show it the same thing that absolutely flabbergasted yesterday, that was just absolutely spooked of yesterday, and today it takes it like a champ. Cold, not because we wore it out, not because we long lined it or lunged it. He just accepts it because, oh, yesterday I figured it out. It's not a big deal. So we're just gonna start in kindergarten. He passes that. We move on to the next thing. Go to first grade. So you see today he's not dragging me around. Okay, so I love that his head was dropped, but by pulling him in, he was getting up on top of me with the shoulder. So by picking I really don't want to reprimand him and spank him too hard because he's doing what I want. But by me putting my hand up here by his eye and ear, do you see how he steps away from me? And now he's doing exactly what I want, which is give me his face, but stay outside of my bubble. So a lot of times, without reprimanding, without doing anything, just by the placement of your hand, you can change the way they carry themselves. So right here, I want him to look at me and walk a circle around me. Once he figures out where he needs to be and how far away he needs to be, then I can start dropping my hand. And what dropping my hand does is it starts dropping his head, which whenever I ride him, I want him to drop his head and relax to make it easier to turn him and to give. So right there, that went from just a circle to disengaging the hindquarters, which is very important for him because under saddle yesterday, he didn't want to disengage his hindquarters. So the lighter we can make that, get those hindquarters on the ground, the lighter those hindquarters are going to be in the saddle. That's like a completely different horse than yesterday. Yesterday, I couldn't hold him in one place. Whenever I swing the rope or touch him or bop him, he'd drag me around. Do you see how that directly correlates to how they ride in the saddle? How they give their face whenever you're riding? Now notice whenever I was lunging, how I carry myself upright, my shoulders tight, assertive, looking directly at him. When I started desensitizing, I relaxed my body, let my shoulders relax, staying here very nonchalantly. People say, oh, I want to learn the language of the horse. Well, first rule of that is it's not spoken. Horses are masters of body language. They communicate with the pickup of a leg, with the pickup of a head, the tightening of a back. So how you carry yourself is very important to how your horsemanship experience is going to go. Before you can control the horse, you have to be able to control yourself. So people ask me all the time, oh, you're starting a horse, how long should you do groundwork? You should do groundwork until you feel foolish doing it. You know, so if 3 days from now, 4 days from now, he looks at us like we're dumb, we're doing this again. You don't, just because he's a young horse or green horse, doesn't mean that you have to do groundwork for 2 months or 3 months. You have to do it until he can do it easily. So if he's still reacting and moving his feet, like the flag, I mean, if this is day 2 of the flag stick, what are you gonna do it 1, 2, 3 more days, maybe? Because at this point, he could care less. Practice is controlled failure. We're looking for the things that he fails at, and we're looking to do that. Once we get him standing still, which was pretty easy today, the next thing we want to do is have something scary on his back and have him move off. So one of the great things about the soccer ball is it goes up in that magical place where the precious cargo goes. And a lot of folks don't desensitize that too much. But you want to desensitize that blind spot as many times as you can, because that's where you're going to be. And you don't want them to spook over you. Okay, come over here, check our cinch again. So now a lot of times, riding young colts, your stirrups are going to be higher than riding your regular horse, because stirrups are there for a reason, and they're for stabilization. So you want to make sure that whenever you're riding a young horse that's impressionable, that you don't get unseated, that you don't lose your balance, and you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that that doesn't happen. And one of the things that you're going to do to ensure that is to put your stirrups up a bit. Make sure you have the horse cinched up pretty good. Because okay. Halter's on his nose. I want you to think between the nostrils and the eyes, and the middle is a good starting point. And then if the horse is acting bad, the lower you bring the halter, the more leverage you're going to have, the more pressure points you're going to have. And the higher you bring it, the more dull he's going to be. So if the horse is acting like a saint, you could bring it higher. And then if the horse is acting like a turd, you could bring it lower. We get up here, stand still, pet them all over. And before we go anywhere, we're going to check our steering wheel. So already a lot better than it was yesterday. Now yesterday, remember he was pulling on me, so I picked the reins up higher up on his nose. But today he's giving better. Well, I say that. Today he's giving better. You see him breaking from the pole and giving his nose pointing down. So the thing about having the reins here on the side, that's going to be the exact same place that you're going to pull from if you're using a snaffle. So this is really setting you up for that snaffle work. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Whenever I'm asking to back up crooked? Okay. When I'm asking to back up crooked and I'm pulling with both reins, I have one rein locked in, and then I'm pulling and releasing with the other rein. So right now, so he is locked in over on this side. The thing about that is, if he got fussy, he could sling his head or overflex himself, but he's off center, so he would have a hard time giving me problems. Or you get a young stiff horse and you ask them to back up in a straight line, you know, they can get fussy and throw their head in rear, get light in the front end. Here, he can get fussy and look for the answer, but since he's off center, the odds of repercussion are pretty slim. So right there, he gets a little fussy, he throws his head. You see what I mean? He kind of looks for it, throws his head around, he just finds himself in a circle. Yes, ma'am? To the rear end? Well, so absolutely. So having him bent in the side, basically I'm taking his rear end away from him. Because if the horse is going to rear or buck or get fussy because of his face, he needs his face straight to push off of that rear end. So by having him crooked here, I'm taking his hindquarters away from him. I'm not disengaging them, but I'm putting him in a position where he's not powerful, where he's not strong. And what you're going to find is he's going to be so much lighter in the face because of it. And the lighter he is in the face, the easier your transition to going faster is going to be. Now, if this was a real colt start, what I mean by that, if this was, his second ride, we wouldn't be harping on him so much to be soft in the bridle. But since he's already had so many rides, so many times people on him, we can go ahead and give him more of a steering wheel. That's the horse I'm looking for. So remember yesterday, whenever he went off trotting, His head was in the air. He was real sticky. He was real hard to move his head where we wanted. Look how today he's at the horizontal. He's really stretched out. So you see, he's already starting to give and go. What that means is when he starts picking his head up, I give just a little side to side to get him off my bridle. Today he wants to be on the rail to this going right. Stretch out that trot. So he's just a lot more level-headed today. He wants to listen, wants to have a conversation. So this is the awesome opportunity. Since we have him and we're starting to teach him how to canter, we can show him that we don't want him to canter with his head up. And the way that we can do that is as long as he leaves his head down, we'll leave him alone. Speed up that trot. Ask for him to drop his head. Really cover ground. Give him a nice loose rein. Good job. So we'll give him here, give him a breather, let all that adrenaline come back down. But it's like a different horse from yesterday. You see how he's really not carrying himself up high? You know, he's not tense and tight and locking me out of the steering wheel. So it was really important that we spent that little bit of extra time from the ground yesterday and in the saddle, making sure that he was giving his head, that he was giving his hindquarters. So today he doesn't want to have that argument. So he's really, you would think that he was not really wanting to go, or some people confuse their horses for being lazy because their feet don't move. You kick them or pop them with the crop or do whatever and they don't go anywhere, but they have a very stiff head. And then you get them soft in the head, and the moment that their head loosens up, their feet loosen up. And then all of a sudden they're willing to go. So this is a very good example of that. So this is a great example for obstacles. All I want to do is face him up and release him. And anytime that he tries to move away, we just pull him right back. The great thing it does is it gives him something to focus on. And for me, it gives me 100 opportunities to disengage his hindquarters. Good boy. Come right to the obstacle again. Look straight down the center. He misses it. Pull it back. And I want you to think in obstacles, the bigger it is, the easier it is. Contrary to popular belief, people like to get horses and try to make them go through a puddle. Well, it's easier to put them in a lake than in a puddle. The bigger it is, the more surface you have to move that horse back and forth and get him to give it a go. So what's the awesome thing about this? The horse just learned how to give up that steering wheel. And now we're trying, the very next day that he gave up the steering wheel, make him give it up when he's uncomfortable. This is what I mean, not trying to train your horse in the ideal environment. Right now, we're asking him to give when he's uncomfortable. If we can make him uncomfortable again and again and disengage his hindquarter and pull his face, disengage his hindquarter, pull his face, well then when you take him out on the trail, it doesn't matter what happens because you're gonna be able to get his face and disengage his hindquarter. So every time that we go through something that he's afraid of and nothing happens to him, he doesn't get away and it doesn't hurt, that's just one more time that we're building a bond that he believes that I'm not gonna get him hurt. I would like for your horse to go through 1,000 different scenarios in which your horse is unsure about something and you get them through it without them coming out unscathed. Because what that does is, when you really need him and you're really in a bind, he's gonna believe and trust you that you're gonna do best by him. There we go. No? So what we're looking for is to get a horse that really doesn't believe he can get away because we have left and right, because we can disengage his hindquarters. And because of that, whether he's feeling brave because of it or he's trusting in our leadership, he's not trying to make a move on us. Really our only rule, don't make a move without us. Don't try to run off without us. Don't try to buck without us. We'll guide you through it and we'll get you out of trouble. Just listen to us and wait for us before you make a move. And that's exactly what we're looking to do here. Notice we didn't even attempt the obstacles yesterday because we didn't have a steering wheel. What I mean is we went forward and everything, but I needed him to work on his face a little and get left and right. And he still had a little adrenaline going, so he wasn't really giving. But whenever he went home at night and cooled off and took a nap and woke up this morning and was feeling a little tender, all of a sudden, whenever we touched the reins, he was looking to give. And because of that, we're able to come out here, walk, trot, canter, circle around. Now we can immediately, we don't want him to think that just going around here with nothing going on is normal. We want him to think, hey, the second we have your face, okay, let's push your comfort zones. One of the worst things that you could have is a horse that's unengaged. So look how quick he learned and how smart he is to pick up that so quickly. Well, then if you go on for a month or 2 months and you don't pressure him to learn, you don't try something that makes him uncomfortable, he's gonna get bored quick. And if he gets bored, then he'll become unengaged and then he'll start looking for trouble. Whereas if a horse like this, as soon as we get him on the curve of learning, we keep pushing the envelope and keep trying to find stuff that's gonna boggle his mind and make him think and push his boundaries, he'll come out like he's come out today. Head down, very relaxed, ready to learn, engaged. So you definitely don't want him to get bored. So what I suggest for you is to continually try to push the boundary. Would you like to give him a ride? Hills, I always like to start with the steering wheel, especially on a young horse, just to flex him around and make him feel like, hey, you need to. For me, that was the root of everything that was sketchy. Him being able to soul up whenever you kick him into the trot and wanting to stop. I feel as soon as his head freed up, then his feet freed up. And that's very common to see, especially not so much with this breed, but you see a lot in quarter horses and Mustangs. Early on, the horse isn't really forward and they use that and they don't really go anywhere. And the horse gets really heavy in the head. And then anytime that you try to flex them or touch them or do anything, they really lock up on you. All right, if you just want to catch the rail, you can pick them up for a little trot. And if anything sketchy happens or you feel uncomfortable, you can just roll them back into the fence. So do you see today how the relationship with his face has changed? Yesterday, if you touched his face, he would try to shut down in the beginning, and then once he figured out how to go, he wanted to lay into your hands. So if you want him to drop his head, you can give him a little left-right with low hands and he'll drop that head for you. And regardless of the breed of horse that it is, whether it's a gaited horse or dressage horse or warm blood, whatever it is, I always want them going with their head low first. Regardless of what their discipline is, we can always pick their head back up later if their discipline calls for it. But if they learn how to move relaxed, if they learn how to move with their head down, the time it's gonna take you to break those body parts loose, the time it's gonna take you to gain full body control of the horse is gonna be so much quicker. You get the same horse in two different scenarios. One person has them with their head up bracing, and the other person has them with their head down relaxed. The person with their head down relaxed can communicate so much easier and have that horse giving up whatever you want, whether it's the hindquarters, shoulders, leads, spins, side passes, whatever it is. Because when their head's down, it's like they're releasing all of their muscles, they're relaxed. They don't have that adrenaline and tension built up. A great example is I like to think of the two most controlled sports in horses. And the two sports that come to my mind is dressage and reining. Ideally, it's the same sport, just with different clothes, okay? You know, it's basically, show me how much control you have of your horse. Speed changes, direction changes, body control, show me how much control you have. Isn't it interesting that in dressage, It takes 7 years to finish a horse, 8 years to finish a horse. And in reining, in year 1 for the futurity, there's $250,000 on the line in Vegas, and the horses are done and finished. I mean, completely broke. I mean, lead changes, spins, fast, slow, anything you want. For me, the big difference between dressage and reining is just the release. In reining, the release is huge. You get the whole rein when you're doing the right thing. And whenever you mess up, I take that rein away and give it right back. In dressage, you have the horses head up, and it's just like in gaited horses, the release is right here. It's so minute that it takes years for the horse to figure out exactly what they're supposed to be doing, as opposed to, you see how she's riding here? When that horse is doing the right thing, I mean, he has 9 foot of rein out there here. Do whatever you want. All right, so let's drop that right hand just a hair. And whenever you flex it, I want you to if it gets over flexed, a lot of times they'll just try to flex more. About right there is all you want it locked in. And then you're pulling his face into the point of his shoulder. There you go. So that's a pro tip. Sometimes if you're doing the spiral, if you have them over flexed and you're pulling, you're just pulling their face flexed more. You want it half flexed. So what I mean by that is if straight ahead is not flexed and completely out at a 90 is fully flexed, you want about here in the center. And what that does is it pulls the face to the point of the shoulder and the horse can't hide from it. So there's a lot of things that horses do to hide from the pressure. By being able to pull it to the point of the shoulder, they can't hide from that, so they have to give as long as you're persistent. No, I work it from the outside. So right there, if she locks that right hand into her leg and then touch and release with the left hand. There we go. Yeah.
No, I meant like right now. Like, would you raise your left hand if they weren't that?
No, actually, the lower you take all the stuff, the better. The horse wants to bait you into picking your hands up. Well, the higher their head comes, the stronger they are, the more resistant they are. The lower you can bring it. So if I can have that horse where I'm locking my inside leg on my lower thigh, close to my knee, and then my outside hand is below my hip, you know, halfway down my thigh, that's a lot harder for the horse to argue with. Yes, and you see it still work.
So it went up.
Right.
That's what she asked for.
Absolutely. It's direct contact. And that's one thing you have to understand. Whenever you're working with a halter or you're working with a snaffle, where there is no leverage, there is no change. Wherever your hands are, that's where you're calling for their head to be. I was in Australia and working with a colt starting buddy of mine, and he's a hell of a colt starter. He has all the horses working, they're going everywhere. Australian stock horses, and they're just a couple weeks under, and the horses are walk, trot, cantering, going all over, and everything's fine. He's like, do you mind giving them a ride? And at 2 weeks under saddle, they looked like they were 2 weeks under saddle. Looked like good 2 weeks under saddle, but they went everywhere with their nose out, their head up, and he will give them a real loose rein like you're doing now. But he would give them a real loose rein, but he would carry his hands in a normal English position. So his hands were up here by his chest. So even though he was on a loose rein, anytime the horses did accidentally touch the reins, it called the horse's head up. So the colt and the filly, both of them, they did everything, but they did it with nose out, head up. The only thing that I changed whenever I hopped on his horse, the horse's flex they gave, is I carried my hands low. I dropped my hands ridiculously exaggerated down by my thighs. Again, on a loose rein, but anytime I would turn or anytime I would touch their face, it was calling downward instead of upward. And just in one session, it completely changed the way the horse carried himself. In his mind, he wasn't ready to start asking the horse to drop his head or drop his nose. And I wasn't really trying to. Like for this horse right here, he's just figuring out how to go. It's more of a suggestion, hey, put your head down. And the way that I do that is just by having low hands. And whenever he's going, just a little touch here and there, and he says, oh, drop my head, and you give him a big release. But I find so much difference whenever I started getting Western mentors, because I come from gaited, which is English, head up, driving them in the bridle. From day one, they're with their head up. When I started getting Western mentors and Western pleasure mentors, reining mentors, and we started dropping heads on everybody, the difference that it made and the quickness in which you could teach a horse something. He is so much more susceptible for learning right now today than he was yesterday, because yesterday he was carrying his head high. So everything that I wanted to ask him to do, first I had to get past the argument. Because if he was trotting and I wanted to turn him, he would lay against my hand first. Now that his head's down and he's relaxed, he doesn't want pressure on his face, so I can Hey, let's go do obstacles. Let's turn you here, let's turn you there. Let's teach you how to back up. So all that makes sense. Do you have any questions?
My biggest question was,
Right, you just do it, and it's a very, right, so it's definitely not, it's definitely not, it's definitely not going to be an issue for you. For me, yeah, no, it's the same thing. They should give lighter, but my motto is, I don't care what you're using, I'm gonna pull as much as it takes. Now granted, if you use a snaffle, which is in their mouth and not on their face, they should give to a lighter pressure. If you're using shanks, they should give to an even lighter pressure. Whatever you're using, they should give to that. But at the end of the day, if they know how to give to pressure, you have to start as light as you can and then be willing to increase that pressure. When your tack starts inhibiting what you're willing to do with your horse, it's not helping you, it's hurting you. I see folks who get run away with because they're scared to pull on the bit because, oh, I don't want to hurt him. Well, then you get run away with, or then you get bucked with because you're not committed to pulling. You always have to be willing to ask as softly as possible and then increase as much as it takes. I mean, if it takes both hands and a foot in the stirrup and that's what it takes to get the horse stopped, that's your life on the line. You better grab that horse and make it happen. And when the horses understand that you'll grab as hard as it takes, but you're always giving them the benefit of the doubt, you're always asking soft, they're inclined, they want to do things softly because you're always giving them the chance. And that's how horses learn how to go bridleless. That's how horses learn how to go, at liberty. Everything that you do, you're asking softly first and then increasing until you get the result that you want, which is exactly why you see such a difference from yesterday till today. Yesterday, I was willing to pull him, till I was white-knuckled, not to run through the fence, as hard as it took. Well, it didn't take too many of those sessions of me pulling on him that he said, oh, anytime he picks up this rein, he's gonna turn me this way. He's gonna turn my head this way. So then you come out the next day and he's a lot lighter. To answer your question of when to switch to the bridle, for me, you already have the horse against the ropes. You already have the ball rolling down the hill to the way that you want. I would ride him a few more times with this. You already have him trot, cantering, he's giving, his head's down. When you feel like there's no more holes that you can walk, trot, canter, turn, stop, and that's comfortable and easy and he's light, then switch. And he already knows how to carry a bridle, so it'll be an easy switch for you. But anytime that I make a breakthrough with the horse, so like the paint mare that we worked yesterday, did you see the big breakthrough? We came and we BS for a little bit and then we long lined her and then immediately she looked like a different horse? Well, then I would long line until she gave me no fits. If that was 2 days or 20 days, I would use that system and long line her until she had no arguments, no anything about her. So for him, whenever you see such a big jump from yesterday to today, whatever I just did, I'm gonna do that until it looks boring. When you come out and you get on here and you swing a leg over and it's just walk, trot, canter, which in the rate that he's picking it up, it might be a week. You'll never hear me put a time limit on a horse. Do it until it's easy. Okay. Anytime that he has problems, I would wait a little bit longer just because he needs to pick up that canter a little bit better. I would like to see him that you can just grab with that outside leg and he just lopes right off, which the amount that he's willing to go forward today compared to yesterday, that's just a couple days away. And, as long as we don't get on him too hard in his face and keep him going forward. So I would have him in the bridle probably within a week. Yes.
That first, then right, and then do anything like that, that way. I do a day first, just to explain.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. It's not a bad way of thinking. To do whatever you're about to teach him new, he has the easy side, to do it to the easy side first so he gets the idea of what you're asking. But then you start getting more nitpicky about it. And whatever he's stiff and hard at. So here, if he was giving me stiff to that right side, I would spiral and back up, spiral and back up, spiral and back up until it was light. And then I'll do it to the other side. And people think that you have to do one and one. Do it till you get the same result. So what I mean by that is if he's horrible one way and great the other way, you get the great result here, you release and you stop picking at it. And then you go to this side and you drill it, right? Back up, right, back up, right, back up. And when he gives you that right, back up just as light as it was on the left, that's when you stop and go back to the left. He gives you the left soft again, then go right back to the right. The horse doesn't have a count in his head. I know that's contrary to popular belief. A lot of folks think that it has to be, oh, you did it exactly 25 times this time, you have to do it 25 times. You do it till you feel the same feel. So like if a horse is spinning and they spin good one way and they don't spin the other way, well, as soon as I get a good spin to their good side, I'm just gonna keep picking at them this way, picking at them, picking at them, picking at them. And the second they give me that softness that I'm looking for, then I want the horse to think that anything that he gives me a hard time about, we're not gonna do anything else until he gives me effort, until he tries, if that makes sense. And very quickly, your horses won't wanna act up. Your horses they don't wanna show you that they're scared of water because they know they'll be in the water the whole session. They don't wanna show you that they're scared of the soccer ball because they'll be playing soccer the whole session. Being hard to the right. Yesterday, he wouldn't get on the rail. You know, he was collapsing in, going right, and he wouldn't stay to the rail. Today, he didn't want to show that because of the rollbacks. And then today, I was able to get him on the rail and keep him right there both directions, but because we gave him a repercussion for getting off of the rail. So, my thinking on everything is just do it till it gets easy. Is there anything else you want? Yeah, no, it's not, and it's not. All that is personal preference. I keep my hands low because I work so many colts, and I'm trying to fast track them. I want them to understand as quickly as possible, and I just know the difference of having your hands here versus here will speed you up days and weeks ahead, because the horse, as they lower their head, they just become more relaxed and more pliable. And the higher you carry your hands, you can get the exact same result. It'll just take you longer. Anything else? I think he got a good horse there. He's gonna be a cool dude. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our video. Make sure to get in the comments below and give us your feedback. Let us know what all problems you're having, if you're having any problems with the steps, if there's more videos or problems that you would like to see. We just want to better help you bond with your horse and help fix some of your equine problems and reach your equine goals.